all of the leading experts agree that what President Trump is doing by receiving foreign payments for his businesses violates the Foreign Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. The action that we have launched this past Friday was a campaign to call for an investigation in the United States House of Representatives to investigate whether there are grounds to impeach the President of the United States for violating the Constitution and federal law, the first step in an impeachment proceeding.
So the investigation would have to uncover the things that Trump chose not to disclose.
We already know enough to get the investigation started, but the House Committee on the Judiciary would have the power to subpoena witnesses and subpoena documents and to pierce through what Trump is keeping secret.
Could they go to the IRS and ask for tax returns?
Tax returns are ordinarily protected by privacy laws, but in an impeachment investigation, if it became relevant, it would not be out of the realm of possibility for the House to examine that type of material.
It says in the Constitution, actually, why don't you brought something, I saw it, it's in your pocket, you were checking to make sure it's there.
It says in the Constitution, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state.
I noticed that it said, except if Congress says it's okay. So if Congress does not act, is that saying it's okay?
No, Congress would have to affirmatively vote to consent to President Trump receiving payments from foreign governments. That means both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate, would have to both vote to accept it, and they would have to know what it was they were voting on.
Okay, so we can't even get there at this point because we don't have disclosure.
We don't even know what foreign payments he's receiving. We know some of them, but we don't know the full extent.
Right. When Barack Obama was elected, there were movements afoot to question where he was born. It was based on, I think, a lot less than this, but it did have a delegitimizing impact. It ended up affecting midterm elections. It certainly affected policy. It affected their choice of nominee, and ultimately it helped them win the White House. So I'm wondering if these efforts are not necessarily designed to remove him from office, but just to weaken him for future fights.
I wouldn't think of it in terms of trying to weaken the president for future fights. I would think of it in terms of public service is a public trust. The president is violating that public trust, and the Constitution forbids what he's doing. It does say of any kind whatever.
Let's just say a hypothetical foreign government wants to have influence over our policy, makes a payment by investing in a property, buying a property, renting a property, staying in the hotel that's over there. And then Donald Trump makes a policy decision that is different than he might otherwise have made.
As long as he's receiving foreign payments, we don't even know what he would have done if he hadn't received foreign payments. So every decision is put into doubt. Every single foreign policy decision he makes, even ones that you might agree with, you'll start to wonder, is this because of foreign business interests? And I can give an example. Before the election, when he was making derogatory comments about Muslims, the president of Turkey said that the Trump Towers Istanbul project should have the name Trump removed. Trump stood up for the president of Turkey in a dispute with other countries, and then the president of Turkey said, okay, now it's all right, it can be called Trump Towers. So the thing is, we don't know what was the motivation for Donald Trump in that situation. Was it that he thought it was the right thing for America, or was that he thought it was the right thing for Trump Towers Istanbul? In Trump Tower, one of the largest tenants is the Bank of China, which is a state-owned bank. It's also a major lender to him. So it's simultaneously paying him lease payments, rent, and it's also extending him credit. Those are foreign emoluments. These are the types of arrangements he needs to unwind. And when he's putting servicemen and women in harm's way, when lives are lost and we have to wonder, did Trump do that as a quid pro quo, or because he was under the influence of a foreign creditor, a foreign customer, a foreign business partner, because this would help an office tower somewhere? That will be the point at which the American people finally say, we've had enough.
I just returned to the fact that we've got this Republican Congress that needs to act.
I think as time goes on, with every passing day, with every passing revelation, you're going to see an increased willingness across the House, both Democrats and Republicans, to begin this investigation, and at some point it will become untenable for the situation to continue.
If having someone who's violating the Constitution remain as president is actually politically expedient, I think we're going to have at least 4 years of this conflict of interest issue.
Well, I think there's a political element to it, but fundamentally the Constitution is not a technicality. This is the governing document that establishes the very basis of our government, and the Foreign Emoluments Clause was set up after great debate because the framers of the Constitution, they were worried about foreign influence in our government, and we have an ongoing violation of the Foreign Emoluments Clause by a president who's refused to do anything to remedy it.